Joins us evening. It's a special edition. What we have to do is catch the young people while we can because of we usually do it on a Wednesday at 6:30. But when we got special guests, we just got to do it, and that's what we're doing here. And we're a little late. Why? Because technical difficulties, but that's okay. We got it going up. But thank you for joining us here. And remember, this is the day that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I am so excited to have and introduce to you this young man who I don't know. I know more of his mom and their family more than I know him because he was a younger generation. But I want to introduce you all to Earvin Flowers. He is the athletic director and head coach of not Temple, of Taylor, Texas. Yes, yes. Tell us a little bit about you.
Just a little bit about me. Born and raised here. Actually, when this church was a school, I went to elementary school here in Bethune. Went to Meredith and a lot of those demanding program over there. So that's where met your daughter over there as well. And it's a journey. Because my mom married my stepdad, and we moved to Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning, Georgia, my 7th grade year. And then we moved back my 11th grade year, moved back to Temple, ended up finishing, graduating the class of 2000 over at Temple High. Then I went to the University of Kentucky and finished up there, moved back and started my coaching journey. Started at Rosebud Lot and then came over to being the Lamar Middle School coordinator here in town and went over to Belton for 4 years or so, then moved over to Taylor High School.
Man, he's taking it all out. I don't get to ask him too many questions because he done jumped all in this thing. I mean, he's
I've been doing it for a while.
Hey, he's pushing this thing. I mean, he said, "Come on, I gotta go home and do some things." But thank you for joining us this afternoon, and also let us know how it was playing for Bob McQueen.
I mean, Coach McQueen is obviously he's a legend, and we hear all type of stories about him. But I tell you what, he was always positive with me, always looking out for my best interests. So it's just funny because a lot of people who are in the coaching game that ask questions about him, like, how was he? How was he? And I say, I can tell you what, when he comes out that door, because you hear the door close, and then the whole room gets silent. And you sit in your rooms, you sit in your line, and you sit in your rows, that's what we call them. You sit in your rows, and he'll come in, and he'll give it his 2 or 3 minute spiel. So, all right, let's go to work. Wildcats, clap. You break, you get up, and you get to your spot, and you go to work, man. And he's still on that tower, and he'll look down, and he knows everybody's name. And he knows everything that's going on with you. He never coached you directly. He always wrote his notes down on his card. So we didn't. Now that I'm older and I've been around some of our assistant coaches who coach for him, he said, hey, he paid attention to everything from that tower. If your shirt was untucked, if your shoe was untied, he would get on the assistant coach and say, hey, why is Earvin Flowers' shirt untucked? Why is his shoe untied? You need to get that fixed. And that's the type of guy he was. He was demanding, but, we were successful because of it. So, and I have nothing but positive things to say about him. Definitely helped my career. So, Coach Queen's a good dude for me.
So what is one of the or a few memorable things you remember about playing for Temple Wildcats?
That's one of them. We were just speaking about it. It's a few. I never forget. My junior year was the first year of the renovated side, the home side. So, it was just cool to come out. And that was my first year playing in Temple. We come out the locker room and you just see the big sea of blue on Mount Wildcat. That's what we call it when you have to run up those stands and get in trouble a little bit, Mount Wildcat. But you see the blue just coming out, and it's like, man, there's so many people. Because I was coming from playing in Georgia, and we didn't have as many people in the stands as we do here in Temple. Obviously, I knew that. I knew the tradition and going to the games at a young age. But just seeing that is something that is always is like, man, this is what it's all about. We ended up playing Odessa Permian here, and there was no empty seats. It was packed out. So, I remember things like that. And of course, I think they call it the Miracle on 31st Street. We beat Ellison on that Hail Mary, when Mark Wood caught that Hail Mary to get us into the playoffs for a 3-way tie for first place.
Now back it up. Tell us Tell us about that game, the last portion of that game.
Oh man, so it was a back and forth game. Of course, Ellison had players. The year before, Ellison was ranked I think USA Today #1 team in the nation the year before, and they still were a real good program, good team, and we're fighting for the last spot to get in the playoffs. It was a three-way tie, so you didn't want to come out to like a coin toss or anything like that. Well, anyway, it was a back and forth game, and then we had some injuries at running back, so they had to put me at running back. So
And you were actually was
I was a cornerback.
Quarterback, okay.
So I made a pretty long run. They kind of put us up. Ellison came back down and scored, and then we got the ball back. I was making another run and fumbling the ball. So I'm devastated. But I had to go back there on defense. They called a pass on me as well, and they went down and they scored. So I'm saying it's probably about 10 seconds left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
We did SMU special. I think it was Jason to Terrell or either or. One of them threw it to each other, and we kind of caught on the sideline, ran down the sideline, had a few ticks left on the clock, and then Kylie threw the Hail Mary. Mark Wood caught it, man. I didn't even see it because I was on the ground crying because I fumbled. But, the rest is history. So it's a pretty cool moment. That was Coach McQueen's last game at Wildcat Stadium, and it is something that, most Wildcat fans never forget.
What did you say? What?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. So yeah, and it was a pretty cool deal.
Wow! And then y'all went on to the playoffs.
Went on to the playoffs. We lost that following round to Arlington Lamar, but they had some athletes on that team too, so they were a good team. They made a little run, but it's always a sore spot for all of us guys because we had some things go on that if we were full strength we could have been okay, but we had some injuries, some people moved, had some eligibility issues. So we were full strength. We could have made a run. So just one of those unfortunate things.
Wow. So after that, then you entered college, and you went from one Wildcat to another Wildcat.
I didn't have to change out my blue. I was wearing blue everywhere. When I moved up to Kentucky, and an opportunity to play in the SEC against some of the big names, the Georgias, Floridas, Alabamas, all those. So getting a chance to play in those venues and represent Temple, it was always something that's special to me.
So what was special about UK? I'm doing graduating and everything else, but what was special about UK? Why did you choose UK? Did you say it was the best fit for you at the time?
I thought they were the ones who really want me to be a part of their program. So kind of the history behind it, and it's crazy how it all connects. It comes back to high school. So Hal Mummy was our head football coach at Kentucky. But before he took that job, he was also the head football coach at Copper's Cove in the mid-'90s.
Wow.
So him and Coach McQueen were pretty close. There also was a guy named Claude Bassett. Claude Bassett worked with Coach Munson, who was on the staff at that time. So all that connection, they were all close. They all, conversed with each other. They talked about me. We went on a visit. And, I just fell in love with it. It was cold the day we were there. That was something that was a little bit different, but it was just family. Those guys took me in, they showed me love. And unfortunately, like that staff moved on. But, this next staff that came in, I had familiarity with them as well because some of those coaches were from Texas Tech. So, of course, my mom and all my family went to Texas Tech. So that's where I wanted to go initially. Mike Leach came in and, they weren't recruiting me as hard. But that staff that was there before him, because Spike Dice retired. So Spike Dice retired, Mike Leach came in and took over. If Spike Dice was still there, I probably would have been at Texas Tech.
Wow.
But, they were recruiting me pretty hard. I was really wanting to go there because that's where all my family went. But long story short, those coaches ended up coming to Kentucky the following year.
Wow.
So it is all connected, So it was a good situation for me.
And as you endured the coldness, because I used to live in Kentucky, so I know how cold it gets. Where would you see yourself going from there? Did you see yourself more likely in the NFL or?
Well, I thought I was. I thought I was gonna make it.
Yeah.
And I started for 3 years at Kentucky. I played in the SEC, played against a lot of guys who get drafted and all that. So I thought that was in my plans to, make it to the next level. Unfortunately, I didn't have a good pro day. I got injured before it. Didn't get a chance to show what I can do, in my opinion. But, injuries happen. That's what happens. So I ended up playing some arena ball. trying to, find ways to find myself on a couple tryouts and all that, but I didn't work out, and I wasn't finished with school at the time, so I ended up finishing school and
That's a good
started coaching.
Wow. Now you had a relative that played NFL.
Yes.
Okay.
Larry Flowers. So, of course, he played at Texas Tech as well, played for the Giants and the Jets. And, a lot of people definitely around here definitely know him. He was known for hitting people.
Yes.
So, hey, he do all the hitting, I do the cover. but yeah, he was definitely known for that. And his name's synonymous with some big plays around here.
So did he ever try to coach you from the sideline or told you after the game?
The cool thing about him is he never did. He never tried to coach us on it. He just tried to give you life lessons and tips. Hey, man, these are some of the mistakes I made. You don't want to, go down that path. Or, make sure you pay attention, listen to your coaches. It's more mental than anything, So if anything, he gave that type of advice when I talked to him. He never really got into the actual game part of it, Now, my dad was really big into, the strategy, my dad, his name's Steve Fisher. He was the first black quarterback here in Temple at one point. And his big thing was, hey, make sure you're paying attention, listening to your coaches, doing what you're told to do. Make sure you don't walk down my path. Because his didn't turn out where he wanted to be. So I made sure that I did things differently.
Right. I know there was Derek Kelly would always say that he was the first black quarterback for Temple.
Yeah.
So, and it played in that 78, 79 year.
So 77, something like that. Yeah. Because
so,
we ended up just going straight basketball. So after that.
So as you endeavor from high school to college, and the other coaches came your direction, and they knew the potential that you had. Did they encourage you to keep on? You could do good things, and you can encourage yourself to push and motivate yourself to do better athlete than you think you were?
Well, they were super positive with us. That is something that I always appreciate about Coach Hofer and Coach Goodner. I mean, both of them have passed, but they were just great coaches in terms of getting everything out of the players. And now that I look at it, now it's all over. I played in the SEC at 5'9", 190. I was undersized. I was undersized, and they had me playing above and beyond my ability and at that time. So they had us believing. We had some success on the field, and they did great things for us.
So did the offense ever look at you like, you Rudy Poo? Look how little you are. But they knew that you like dynamite. You were short, but you would hit somebody.
Well, I think it was just more of, it went from they would try me, and then after it was over, it was like, that kid knows the game. He knows where he's supposed to be. He plays team defense. We need to go with the other guys. So, that was when you watch the game. I happened to watch a game by accident. It was like on ESPN, like Classic. It was about 2 weeks ago. And I didn't get a lot of action because I was doing my job, if that makes sense. As a cornerback, if you don't really see the cornerback, that means they're doing their job. When you see him a whole lot, that means he's getting caught on. You got to make tackles. So, yeah.
Wow. And since you've been 5'9" and these guys 6'2" and 6'3", you didn't pay that no mind. You said, hey, I'm here. I'm from. Did you ever have an inclination? I'm from Temple, and I'm a Wildcat.
That is the only inclination I had. Because when we play on ESPN, the first thing I tell myself is, you're not going to embarrass me in front of my family, my friends, and Temple. I'm not going to let you, So I go out there and I fight tooth and nail, For me, I had a size disadvantage. So I had to be smarter, So I had to learn the game in a different way. So I think that's kind of helped me in terms of my coaching journey, that I can see things a little bit differently than how it's traditionally coached. And, I think that helped me be successful. So now we get a guy who has the size, has the ability, and I'm giving them the game that I've saw, before I learned it from. And I think good things can happen for you if you listen and you do it the right way.
That's awesome. The Bible tells us to be teachable, and I think you're in that pathway. As long as you're teachable, then you could be successful in what God calls you to do and in life. That's the main thing.
It's all about that,
Yes.
and that's everyday life, not just sports.
Right, right.
And we just had that conversation. You're gonna have situations all through life It's all about your response.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we see it so many times in this world, you know, you have a hardship, something happens, you know, a family member passes, and then you see some people just give up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but your response to your situation is more important than your situation. That's something that people always have to remember, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, bad things happen. I'm hurt. I'm torn. Other people are relying on me. I have to react and respond this way,
Mm.
you know, because it's bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, we speak about it in sports and all that, but that's life.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the Bible. That's in everything that we do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. Now you have some athlete aunts and mother. I mean, they was athletes. I recall that back in the day. You know, you said something about flowers. About okay, here they come. Where they at? You know, and so so you came from a teachable family that had sports written all over them. Now they just didn't do sports; they was educated as well, which I like that too. You know, some people think that you're in sports, you're not. You know, you don't have any education, but you know they came loaded, and so that put a good intention on you that say, hey son, or hey, nephew, you got to do this because you know we got. And plus, your last name is Flowers, so you better, you know, you got to step up to the plate.
So in terms of my mom, you know, a lot of the kids around here, they know Coach Moten. You know, when she was over at Western Hills, Coach Moten, you know, Veronica Flowers Moten, you know, that's my mom. But of course, she had the hurdle records at Temple High, had the hurdle records at Texas Tech, and my sister broke her hurdle records at Temple High and Texas Tech. You know, when she went up there, but no, my mom was tough. You know, she was the youngest kid of a bunch. Everybody know the Flowers around here's a lot of
Everybody.
So she was the youngest out of all of them. So she had to be a tough person, and she was tough on us because this world is not going to be easy.
Right,
And
right.
she told us that all the time, and she held us accountable all the time. And everybody's like, "Man, your mom don't play." I was like, "Nah, she don't." You know. And then it's always funny because I always give this story to my kids. I said, "Hey, I couldn't beat my mom running into the ninth grade. You know, we raced in eighth grade, she beat me. You know, and everybody considered me the fast one in the neighborhood, in the school, and all that. She beat me. I was like, no, she's the real deal, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but she's always tough. Always been honest about her grades. Always put me in like magnet programs that pushed myself, even though I hated it. I didn't want to do anything with that stuff. Why can't I just go over here in these regular classes and get an A or B? You know, she made me go get in the magnet programs and push myself, which helped me, you know, because we moved to Columbus. I had to go to a magnet school in Columbus, and it was life changing academically, you know, because it was pretty much like a college prep. And I'll never forget, if I didn't pass, I had to go to another school that wasn't as great. And she was not going to let me go to that school. So she said, you better pass this. I can't say what she said, but you better pass this test. You know, because she's like, I don't want you. I think you're going to go in here and try to mess it up on purpose. You better pass this test. So I go in there and I passed it, but academically, it had me ready for college. You know, from syllabus and reading certain chapters at night and all that type of stuff. So that was one of the best things that ever happened to me academically was Columbus High School in Columbus, Georgia.
Well, and the key thing, you listened.
Oh yeah, I got no choice.
That's good because you know sometimes people decide to do their own thing and they find themselves not where they're supposed to be. Right. But I'm glad you listened, and so that's why where you are. Okay, now let's fast forward. Graduate from UK, and then you go to your first job site.
Okay, so honestly, you know, right after I finished at UK, I started a job at RJ Reynolds. So RJ Reynolds is a cigarette company, like the second biggest cigarette company. I think is next to Philip Morris, somewhere in North Carolina, Tobacco Road. They always talk about that. So I got moved to Nashville, and you know, had a really good job there. Made my own hours, got a company car, all that type of stuff to pay for your cell phone. So living it up. But you know, I was like, man, I wouldn't put on this earth to do this.
Your heart wasn't there. Okay.
I wouldn't put on this earth to do this. So
y'all hear this, guys? He had money, cell phone, and a company car, but that didn't where he wanted to go. Okay.
Yeah, and then of course I go to teaching where you know you barely can make ends meet, but still.
Right.
But no, I made a call to Robbie Edwards. So Robbie Edwards, he was the cornerbacks coach when I played at Temple High School. He was now the athletic director at Roseville Lot. Him and my mom worked together at Western Hills as PE teachers. So we were always close with him. So she said, call Coach Edwards, see if he got something. So I called Coach Edwards. He said, you are now my new head track coach. I'm like, what? I mean, I know track, but not like the, run a program. So yeah, I went out. I was one of his DB coaches, receiver coaches, and the head track coach. And I learned so much in that 1 year at Rosebud Live. And then he happened to step down, and he said, hey, go back to Temple and get with that new staff that's coming in. That was with Mike Spradlin when he came in. So Chad was a freshman that year. So I came in with those guys at the middle school level. I was the middle school coordinator of Lamar. So that class that went to the state championship, Chad and all those guys, the guys that came behind them, I had all those guys. Okay. So Davion Curtis, Ashton Logan, all those kids. I had all those guys.
And wasn't the mentor? I remember.
No, I didn't have mentor.
You didn't have mentor?
Okay. Travis. I didn't have mentor, but like a lot of those guys, for Derek Grayer, just actually Trey Hawkins. So Trey Hawkins plays for the New York Giants. So, Trey Hawkins, I had him at outside linebacker, and because he would hit you, but he was like this long, skinny thing. He wasn't overly fast, but he gets to high school and then hits a growth spurt, becomes 6'3", gets on the track, becomes so much faster, goes junior college, then goes to Old Dominion, man, and he gets a chance in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah, but he wasn't like one of our top tier guys. BJ Skurlock, Xavier Johnson, all those guys, they now coach. BJ's over at the high school, Temple High, and Xavier's down in Houston area coaching, but had all those kids, and they all went to the state championship game, and it was just cool to see, what those guys did from middle school and taking them to the high school. And those high school coaches did a good job with them, just to see them go from just little guys on up.
Wow. I'm having to check the coach the difficulty, but I think we'll be okay though. As long as you talk, that's the main thing. Cause we need you on the segment right here. Also, so from Rosebud Lot, then you went to Temple, and then from Temple to
Belton Tigers.
Belton Tigers. Now that's where I'm from. I'm from Belton, okay, guys, but that's okay.
Yeah, man. So I had a lot of those guys over there, and Coach Bob Shipley hired me over there when Coach Shipley took over.
Yes.
We were in task for kind of get the program on steady footing. I think they kind of dropped a little bit. And then I think Coach Southern left, and then Coach Shipley came in, brought us over, and we made the playoffs that first year. I think we made it 4 out of 5 years I was there. Made the playoffs. Really good athletes, man. Logan Hall, who plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he was there. He was 6'5" long kid, and we was making him a hurler, and then next thing you know, he turns into this, second round draft
beast, huh?
Defensive lineman, and Garrison Vaughn, he was the other kid that played for us over there. Had a lot of good guys, man. From Stafford to all over those guys, Elijah One, just all some of those names from back in the day. Tevin Jones, just great kids, good guys, and played hard for us. And we had a lot of success.
Wow, I mean it's amazing that you have seen and known, and not only that, but still keep in contact with all those guys from here and there. So after Belton for 4 years, now what? Now.
Then I became the defensive coordinator at Taylor High School.
Okay.
So I was the defensive coordinator through 2 rough years. We were 0-10. We didn't win the game. So we didn't win the game. It was like, hey man, y'all about to make me go, sip on some adult beverages. Like it's tough on me.
Up in here.
It's tough on me, man. I can't. I'm not used to losing. This is not, what we do. But Coach Brandon Houston came on. I forgot, Robert Little. He's the guy who brought me there. Good dude. Unfortunate circumstances in terms of our record. But then Brandon Houston came in. We worked together in Belton.
Yes.
So
okay.
He kept me on, and I stayed the defensive coordinator, and we kind of got the thing turned around. And we made the playoffs his second year there. And then I ended up taking over as the AD, 3 years ago.
Wow. Now, how'd that feel? Now, you in charge. I mean, you in charge, but you still got people over you, but you're in charge of the sports section itself.
It's a lot. Our superintendent, Dr. Garcia, she does a good job in terms of helping mold me in the leadership portion. I'm in a lot of workshop, a lot of cabinet meetings and all that. So it's opened the door to some things that I never really realized in terms of organization, leadership, how to, deal with others, how to help bring the best out of others, So that's something that I really learned from being in this position. Something that I've learned in terms of, how to treat your coaches, because I already know how I want to be treated.
Right,
not everybody wants to be treated the same way. So you got to be able to, kind of be the jack of all trades, knowing your people is no different than coaching, really. Because this kid can be coach hard, but this kid, he might need a little TLC. That he can't respond the same way. And the worst coaches try to be the one size fit all guys for me.
Right.
In my opinion, because not all kids are the same.
Yeah, that's true.
So not all kids are the same. They're saying that you want them to conform to you and your expectations, but you don't want to do anything for them. So I don't agree with that part of it. So I got to try to find ways to get the best out of them, because I want the best version of you so we can be successful.
So how do you deal with when parents come up there and they even know that the kid is not coachable, or should I say they can't make second string or first string, and they kind of try to pressure you. My kid should be doing this, my kid should be doing that, and you're like, man, your kid is awesome, but there's one or two people that are better in their position than he is.
We, obviously we run into that all the time. And this is one of those situations where you have to say, hey, we're not going to talk about playing time. We're going to talk about what your kid can do to get better.
That's good.
That's on the conversation we're going to have. What can they do to get better? Hey, we need to get stronger in the weight room. We need to be faster. You need to know the plays. You need to know what's going on. A lot of times you got to be more consistent. Yeah, you have the talent to be good, maybe be a starter, but you're not consistent. You're not showing up on time. You're not at all the practices. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So all that stuff taking account of what goes on in terms of if you're on the field, off the field, those type of things with these parents. And then with the parents, I think the biggest thing with them is to just be consistent in your communication. You let them know in the parent meetings, this is how it is, this is how it's going to be. If you have an issue, this is how you communicate with us. We'll let you know what they can do to get better in terms of playing time. Or if there's a situation where they're not getting along with the coach or something like that, hey, what can we do different? Or what can they do different as well? Because at the end of the day, this is the same kid you call us about you having problems with at home. So some of those things he's doing at home, he's doing here.
Wow.
So we're trying to be on the same page, because it becomes a village thing. We're all trying to help raise your kid. We're not just coaches. We're trying to help raise your kid and teach them the right things to be productive members of society. So we're all on the same team. So that's kind of the message I push with our parents and our kids.
That's good, because the IT person is a Temple Wildcat. Some people say alumni, and some people say alumni. However you want to say it, but they bleed blue all the time. I mean, I get to go to the games, and him, his lovely wife, and his sons, they at it. I mean, you don't be around them, because you be around them, you just get ready to get rowdy with them. But it's all good though. It's all good. It's fun.
But like we spoke about earlier, I play with one of his sons, and I know his other one. I see the pictures on Facebook of his family and granddaughters and all that. I know they're cheerleaders. They were part of it. So yeah, man. I still bleed it. It doesn't change. I'm definitely a Taylor Duck. I love, but it reminds me so much of Temple.
Right.
It reminds me of Old Temple. Of Old Temple. When I say Old Temple, meaning not as big in terms of the enrollment. Back in the days when we were, in 4A or whatnot, it just reminds me of that. Smaller town feel. Everybody. You get everybody from each side of town in terms of the classes and races. It reminds me of so much of Old Temple. That's why I love Taylor so much. But at the end of the day, everybody know I bleed blue. And, I'm a Temple Wildcat through and through. So yeah.
Well, the fun part is within 2 years, your job, you're going to have a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's at least 2,300 jobs coming to Taylor. 2,300 coming to Taylor. So I believe Taylor's going to be playing, maybe playing Belton and Temple again. I remember our rivalry was Taylor Ducks back in the day. So I believe they're going to be playing Temple eventually, because I recall that it was another school that was a 2A, and now they big 6A, because it's well up. That's how Taylor's going to do the same thing. So just be prepared to have fun and meet more people.
Well, I'm fine with that, but like I said, I see Temple in Taylor.
Yeah.
So the whole movement of the growth. I just remember growing up as a kid, you see the sign that was like 40,000. Now is it what 80? Dang near 90.
Actually 103.
It's 103 now.
103.
Oh wow. So I seen the growth. I just remember looking at all those signs, but it was no different when we used to go to Round Rock. You remember Round Rock was nothing but about 20,000 folks, and now it's almost 170,000 people, or maybe more. Pflugerville is blown up. That whole little Austin area. I think from Austin to Temple is all going to be Austin metropolitan soon. So this whole area is exploding and growing.
When you said Round Rock, I recall Round Rock only had one high school,
right?
And Belton played Round Rock, and they had they didn't have a policy about the dress code, but we did. We had to be shaven and everything else, and there was a running back named Willie Russell.
Mm-hmm.
He looked up at this one guy. This guy had a full beard. And he said, "Man, we're not playing Round Rock. We're playing the University of Texas." And we all just cracked up laughing. I still remember that just clear. And we was on the field, just having fun.
And Willie Russell, he was the Raiders, right? Back in the day?
Sir?
Was he with the Raiders back in the day?
Oh, his brother.
His brother, okay.
Booker T.
I just remember seeing his picture on the wall when I was working over at Belton. So, we knew those Russells and the athletes they had over there.
Yes. I mean, you know how some spark on me, and you sparked something on me, on that. So, what do you see yourself in your mindset now? We know things can change. About 4 years from now.
4?
About 4, 5, 6, 7.
Hopefully with a state championship.
Amen. Okay.
that's the our whole theme of this year and moving forward is called the next step. So every one of my athletic programs, we have 3 years to reach the highest height in our program's history. Mm-hmm. And some of the things we implemented are things that push us towards that, from the scheduling to the coaching training to development of our athletes, all those things. So that's what all our coaches are kind of putting together in terms of helping our program reach the highest heights, the next step. So that's why I mentioned the state championship. And man, just this coaching and enjoying my family. My son, he's 11 right now, so that means he'll be in high school at that time, and and hanging out with him and watching them grow. My nephew here in town, watching them play ball and all that. And I got my niece and got my nephew in Waco. He's playing a whole lot of baseball for Midway, and just watching my family grow and taking care of the rest of my family and just living life.
Yeah, as I sit here, you have a very positive attitude, which is great. Sometimes you talk to people and feel like, you're like, man, why are we interviewing each other? See, like you should be, this or that. But you have a positive attitude.
Well, I appreciate it.
And you can help a lot of people when, having a positive attitude. And I like how you explained it, how you deal with people and deal with parents and deal with the children. And you come from you talk like an old man. But
I'm old now, man. I'm 43. So
just a kid. Well, I'm talking like 70, 80, but the idea is you all could help a lot of people. And just think of how the misfortunate, how, I don't know if you ever been up under a coach somewhere, along the line, they just didn't really care for you and just, kind of like push you to the side, or you just a number. Mm-hmm. But I like how you explained it so well, how, you said this person needs to do this and do that, and, encourage somebody instead of just blowing them out of the water. And I like that about you.
Well, I tell you, I had to grow as a coach, because just being honest with you, we grew up, we didn't have tough times, but we got tough love. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. And when I got into this game, in the coaching game, I was like that. And then I started to grow a little bit in terms of not everybody responds to that. Not everybody responds to the negative.
Yeah.
I was motivated by the negative. That's just how I grew up. I was motivated by that. So when I initially started coaching, I'm thinking the kid is soft because he don't want to compete against that guy. This guy trying to take your spot. You're not trying to fight back, you know? So I realized that not everybody's motivated by that. So I had to kind of reteach myself and relearn how to, you know, coach others and talk to other coaches and kind of steal from them and some of those ideas. So how I am now, I was not like that at Lamar Middle School.
Wow.
You know, I was not like that at Lamar Middle School. I think what we did helped them and made them tough athletes and made them, you know, motivate. But I feel like I missed out on some kids because I was tough. You know what I mean? So this is it's not all cookies and rainbows. You know, I had a lot of growing to do, and that's honestly one of the reasons I left Temple. That's I left Temple. Obviously, I had an opportunity to coach at Temple High School, but I left Temple because I felt like I couldn't grow as a coach. I'm dealing with hey, look out for your cousin. Hey, look out for your friend you graduated with. And I wasn't allowed to truly coach, in my opinion. So when I went to Belton, I kind of got away from it. And I was allowed to grow as a coach. And I started seeing how I was coaching. And I started seeing that, I wasn't reaching all the kids that I could reach. So that kind of helped me change my game. Then I went over to Taylor. And then we found those hardships winning-wise. But I reached a lot of kids in a positive way. And, that kind of molded kind of how I am now.
I like that. I'm serious. I really do like that. Where you just say, well, my way or the highway. But you had to really rethink and reboot and revise yourself to where you are today. So that's why you the AD.
Kids are different.
Yes.
And everybody's like, these kids these days. Well, the parenting is different. If all the parents raise their kids like we were kind of raised back in the day, that one size fit all coaching style could work. But it doesn't work anymore. Nick Saban got out the game. Nick Saban got out the game not because of, he couldn't coach anymore. It's just the fact that your one size fit all is not necessarily working with all these guys who are making all this new money.
Yeah.
So then, and I'm just giving examples. You got a guy like Sark down in Texas. I'm a Kentucky fan first and foremost.
Well, don't talk about Texas because you got to.
I ain't gonna talk bad about them. I know who they are. I know his family. I know they're Texas fan. But my old roommate in college, he's the running back coach at the University of Texas.
Oh, okay.
So I get a chance to, kind of hear about, kind of how Sark is and everything like that. And, he's tough but positive and is trying to put people in position to be successful. And that's how you got to be with the new school kids. Gone is the thought of, if I do what I'm supposed to do, good things are going to happen for me and all that. You got to put yourself in position to be successful in this new, and I'm talking about college ball now.
Right.
But I'm talking about college ball, but I'm talking about how these coaches are now. Is all that hard, tough coaching and Bear Bryant, Junction Boy stuff, all that stuff is not going to work with these kids.
Right.
And it's going to have you out of a job. So you better find a way to adapt so you can have some success. So I looked at myself and I started looking at everybody else, and I was like, hey, let me kind of change the game a little bit, and that's what I do now.
So you've been an AD, and we're just chatting right now. Do you find yourself people trying to pull you to their city or their town because of what you have done and all that, but the way you think are positive?
I mean, there's opportunities everywhere.
That's good.
There's opportunities everywhere, and it's one of those situations where, either you're going to stay where you're at and continue to build, or you're gonna go somewhere else and start over. And I'm perfectly fine where I'm at. I love the town. I love our kids. I see what's going on. I see the growth. And it feels good that you want it and people want you to be a part of their program to help them out. But, I think I'm in a good spot with our guys.
That's good. And the reason is because, like you said, there's opportunity everywhere, and just stay focused, and things will work out for your good. Anything you want to tell your lovely mom or your son or your dad? Because they're gonna be watching this
Oh,
now.
I know they watching,
Yeah, yeah.
and I mean, they know how I feel about them, man. I wouldn't be here without all of them.
Right.
They will help make me successful in terms of what we do in my occupation or whatnot, and they help make me successful in terms of just how we treat people and how we are. I try my very best to respect everybody.
Yes.
I know I can be awkwardly weird sometimes because I just get quiet and I just I can walk down the street and I'm in my own zone and there's somebody from school, hey Earvin, what's going on, man? I get in my own zone, but I promise you I show love to everybody when I'm paying attention and the opportunity. So, but no, man, obviously they know I love them and love everybody from here. I love being from here, love what we represent, and it's funny, because it's like you hear all the big cities in the world and all that, man. But when somebody say they're from Temple, they already associate that with toughness, and you're gonna go get it by any means. You're gonna find a way to be successful. So that is something that anybody who's from here, when you take it out into the world, that's what it's all about. People know that you're gonna find a way to be successful, and you're not gonna back down for no challenge.
Man, I like how you said that. Don't back down from a challenge. Wow, that is so awesome. As talking to you, I see you futuristic, as in being successful, because, like saying, you got all the right pieces in the puzzle to put it together, and to stay focused is very important. And I know that there are obstacles out there that's trying to pull you here and there. How do you stay focused?
Well, you gotta, make the main thing the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's sometimes when you lose focus, you lose sight of the main thing. At the end of the day, it's about your family, and it's about when I say family, I'm talking about my kid included and my, nieces and nephews, nuclear immediate family, but it's also about our kids as well. Um, every decision that we make in terms of like coaching, teaching, you thinking with your kids first.
Mm-hmm.
At home, you thinking with your kids first. Hey, I got a big opportunity to go to Dallas and be this big banker, but I got to take my son out of this great school district that we have here. So you thinking about your family, you thinking about your kids first. So when I say keeping the main thing, those are the type of things I think about, and that's what helps keep me on track because I try to make the main thing the main thing.
So you're not thinking about you. You're thinking about entirely in family. Okay, that's great.
You can't, and that's the hard part, but you got to have a strong support system around you. That's the main thing. If you don't have people who are seeing the same vision and a good support system around you, it's hard. It's hard. So it's hard to keep the main thing the main thing. If that makes sense. So
yeah.
I know it sounds cliche, coaching terms, but the main thing. But it's the truth. You have an obligation here to your family in this church.
Yes, sir.
So when you make your moves and your decisions, you're basing it off of my family and my people in this church.
Yes,
those are the main things. So when I make my moves, it has to be the main thing when I make these moves. So, that's how we do it. Because
the different it'd be consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Behind it. So you got to make sure, if I fall off and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do in terms of my job, I get fired, our quality of life and the way that we're living is now affected.
Right.
So if that's now affected, my kid in terms of, my son is autistic, so his therapy, all those type of things, all that's affected. So we got to handle business. Right. The main thing has to be the main thing.
So you talk like an old man. Seem like you've been on this earth for about 100 years.
Oh man, just been around a bunch of wise people, put it like that.
That's awesome.
Been around a bunch of wise people. You were at the class reunion last week, and I got up and got a chance to speak. And one of the big things I talked about with myself, man, I love to listen. I love the stories. I love, like, when I hear those old school stories, you get these young kids that just want to walk off and they don't want to hear no more. I love it. I love history. I love all that because You don't know where you're going. You know where you don't come. If you don't know where you came from, you know. And so I'm real big on that. So I love to hear the stories about the 50s, 60s, 70s. You know, things that happen. You know, people's life. You know, because you can take something from it. You know, and I guess that makes me the old soul in it. But I listen and I take a lot of that stuff in. And at a young age, I used to do that all the time. You know, like I was telling the story like. I thought I was dang near a part of like the '79 team. You know, 'cause I heard so many stories about it. I heard about Carl Robinson and all those guys and how amazing they were on the field. And then you get to '92 and you see, you know, Adrian Woodson, you see Delarius Wilson, all those guys making plays, and they go down to, you know, Texas Stadium and play against Houston Yates out there in the little drizzling rain. We there in the stands, and you know, their band was amazing going off over there, and we going tooth and nail with the, you know, the team from the city, and we win it, you know. So it's just those stories and being around that, man. I can tell people about that. I'm all about that, you know, and that's what helped make me.
Well, I had surgery that Friday, right before the game, and my doctor told me, he said, "You better not be at that game because you need bed rest." I said, "Yes, sir." Saturday morning, I was at the game. I was in pain, but I was there. I went to see it because you just don't, you know, it don't happen every year, you know. And I was in pain, but I was like, all right. Yeah, I was at the game, so
that's crazy.
I still remember it. I still remember that hit, that Derek Bates hit. Oh man, I remember that hit, man. Woo!
Yes, sir.
Man, we heard it all in the stands.
Hey, I was like, that's gonna be me. You know, I'm gonna be playing like that. You know, playing DB like that. You know, Greg Steele. You know, end up going to Baylor. You know, all those guys, man. And I just got so many memories of that. You know, Paul was on the sideline. One of your ball boy. Yeah, Paul was on the sideline. Terrell Smith was on the sideline. Ben Haynes. And I went to school with all those guys at Meredith. So then they come back and they tell us all the stories and PE. And I'm like, man, I wish I was on the sideline being the ball boy too. You know. So yeah, man, those things you just never forget, man. Never forget. And, you know, that's what make this town and what we do special.
Right. Yeah. So, like I say, Temple is my home at the present time. You know, I've been here since '89, so I got married. And, you know, my wife said, we're gonna move to Temple. Well, she was already in Temple. So I said, okay. And that was it. You know, I didn't say, no, we're going back to, you know, 8 miles down the street. No, we just stayed here. So, and both of my daughters graduate from Temple. So that's what we do. We just here. Yeah. You know, I know the IT person just waited me to say I'm a Temple Wildcat, but I'm gonna hold off on that yet. But I'll be at all the games.
Yes, sir.
He vouched for it. Appreciate it. Matter of fact, I'm beating him to the games. You know, just to get seen. Any last minute you want to talk about?
No, I'm good, man. I thank y'all for having me. You know, I don't get a chance to be back. You know, get back as much as I want, but you know, just the fact you guys, you know, welcome me on the show and I get a chance to speak to the city again, and it's just fun thing.
Well, you know, we're gonna shoot this out to everybody. So you know, so if you know your family member said, "Oh, we saw you," so I didn't put it out. Don't worry about it. We got this. We're gonna kick it out to everybody because you know, especially Dr. Bobby Ott, is a superintendent. He loved anybody who came from Temple. You know, he's even though he graduated from Copper's Cove, but you know now he's Templeite. And he just, you know, he got a wristband that everybody that is alumni of Temple has one. I don't have one because I didn't graduate from Temple. But, you know.
That'll give me one. I didn't know about that. But, you know, we always, you know, when you're in school, you don't really see what goes on with the next school. I came to a Temple game, I think, Harker Heights last year, but I kind of come in, kind of sit in the corner. You know, I see some of the people I know, and I try to enjoy the game and whatnot. So,
yes, sir. Well, sir, I would appreciate you coming. I know that, like, so you already started the football season, and
first day today,
and you came all the way this far. Came down 95 coming down here.
Came down 95. Yes. Right from the field house. We had our last meeting, and I told them I'd shoot over here for this podcast, and we back to work 5:45 in the morning.
Okay. Yes, sir. 5:45. Okay.
Yes, sir. Our kids are practicing at 6:10, and we're on the field. We practice in the morning, so we try to do that just to give us a chance. Just in case we have bad weather, we had a bunch of rain today. So if we have bad weather, you still have that after school chance to get your practice in.
Yes, sir.
If you do it in the afternoon and it rains out, then you kind of lost the day.
So. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I really appreciate you coming, and I thank you for your success. because of your knowledge and all of that. But you remind me so much of myself. I get a lot of sermons by listening to people. Not like I'm talking about you, but I get an understanding to where I better not go down that road. 'Cause I saw what happened to this person, that person. But just jarred my memory again. Like, man, I need to listen to some more people, and I like to listen to the young people as well. I get so hilarious that I have a 9-year-old kid. They do my TikTok for me. 9 years old, and they work for Bulgogi Fries. Or if they don't work for Bulgogi Fries, they want $5. Okay, I give you $5. I'm gonna give them 20. But if you want 5, I give you 5. But I mean, they keep my account going. 9 years old, and I love it. So I'm telling you, I use the key as much as possible, and so I thank you for just drawing some things back in my memory. Minnie Riperton had a song called "Back Down Memory Lane," and so so you jarred something. So I'm energized just by listening to you. You just don't know. You think, oh man, he just got me in here, but I'm telling you, I get energy from other people, to keep me going. So thank you and appreciate you. Thank you for joining us at New Day Fellowship Church, Going Church, New Vision for a Multicultural Generation. We thank you for featuring Coach Earvin Flowers here from Temple, Texas, but now he's at a different destination at the present time, but still born, bred in Temple, Texas. So thank you for joining us. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.
Great day. And thank you for tuning in to a New Day Fellowship Church. We are so grateful that you joined us, and we pray that you were blessed by hearing God's living word. May his message inspire you to continue walking in faith, trusting that he is working all things together for your good. As we close out this service, feel free to leave a word of encouragement in the comments and share your testimony with others. Together, we can inspire and uplift those around us to live for God. Remember, this is your season. Hold on to his promises, stand firm in your faith, and watch as God does great things in your life. Continue to be blessed, and we look forward to seeing you again. Stay encouraged